to enter to our ancestors, to our ancestors. Bless each of us in whatever we call home at this moment right now. May only good fortune and safe journeys bless friends who walk through our doors. Thank you for this stable place to stand, for these four walls which house our love and laughter. May the roof hold strong and these roots reach deep, and may we be comforted and protected as we sleep. Clear anything destructive that has been here. Let all but goodness disappear. Heal the energy within this place. Bring us love, protection, and grace. Fill this home with joy and love, and send us blessings from above. May this home be blessed. Ashe. Welcome, beloved, to the Sankofa Ancestor Shrine. I'm your host, Sacred Woman Practitioner Tatami, and we are working our way through the Sacred Woman book. We are still kind of in that before the gateways, partially, almost basically gateway 1 with the Sacred Womb. We're kind of working our way through it slowly. The prayer is from the Earth and the Ancestors. You can find this on Amazon or Barnes & Noble, ritualready.com. Get the free PDF or get the paperback on one of those sites. Speaking of books, I did go ahead and spend a little of my stimulus on a book that we could use, and I'm going to actually read us a chapter from this. So we're still kind of hovering near the beginning of the book, but I think that's okay because I want us to take our time and go through it and really be able to connect with what we're doing and do everything with intention, right? Do nothing without intention, right? So that's really what I'm going to read today. I'm going to read us actually part of chapter 7, Nourishing the Soul. I went ahead and was reading through this and drawing in it and trying to connect with each page. I really loved this book. This was Meditations Across the King's River by James Weeks. I follow him on Facebook, and I have just loved his nuggets of wisdom and his Afrocentric point of view when it comes to spirituality. I find it so invaluable, and he's not pretentious. He's not out here trying to sell you something every time. He don't show up every time he got a special something to sell once a month. He don't show up in your DMs. He don't show up trying to put nobody else down. He doesn't have anybody else in his mouth. Oh my gosh. There's a moth in my house. I'm not going to chase it right now, but I got my eye on that. All right, so basically, I really like his attitude. He's focused on his grind. He isn't calling other people out. He doesn't have like any reason to. Very calming energy, very Afrocentric energy. And when I was like, the parts of the book I read so far have felt very complete, very wholesome, very calm, the same way that I felt. And I felt like we did need some masculine energy that was very Afrocentric spirituality based. So I thought he would be really great on that. The one thing I did want to read a little bit from, we're only a sentence from the Sacred Woman book, was we did get around to very close to the Sacred Woman womb journal. So if you have your womb journal, I do suggest you try to spend a little time in nature again, creating, painting, writing a poem, a haiku. It don't have to be a long ass poem. Use your paints, get a travel paint kit for, $10, $20, and really go out there and just sketch, draw, or, how I did in that book right here, just practice connecting with nature in your own ways. practice makes perfect, but it's also not about being perfect, as we're going to read in there. It's not about needing to be Van Gogh, needing to be Beyonce. Find a way to appreciate the ways that you create and the ways that you meditate and work through and get inspired without feeling like you need to compete and do this whole thing, making it a whole career, or even make your career the same way as somebody else's, when you could be somebody who combines some other things and does a whole nother, path. So this is the first journal prompt she wrote, which is about asking your womb why you have not dialogued with her before. Why do you avoid dialogue with your womb? Why are there times where you would rather just not? Is it, do you know, but you just don't want to hear it? Do you not want to face it? You in the throes of addiction or trauma or abuse, of some sort? Really talk it out, figure out what it is you're avoiding and why you're avoiding. Why is it you don't want to have these daily conversations? And if you do have more conversations, another alternative I just thought of was talking to your ancestors the same way. Why do you avoid talking to your ancestors? Why do you avoid having these conversations, doing the work what you're supposed to be doing? Why are you not doing it? So that's really the questions for your journal prompt this week. And so let's go to Nourishing the Soul, because I think this little chapter is really going to elevate and take to the next level where our mindsets are as we go through this journey. By tapping deep into your soul, you can offer another way of seeing the world, another way of being in the world. There are no limitations for a soul that is determined to break free. My friend Shango readily admits he was once enamored with French culture. Once he learned the ugly truth about French colonialism, past and present, however, it shattered his illusions and made him question his values. He became angry, defiant, critical of the system. After reading the book Afrocentricity by Dr. Molefe Kete Ashanti, he was inspired to change his name to Shango. Then he took it a step further. He named his sailboat Shango too, and started giving other members of his family African names. This spiritual and political transformation caused tension in his marriage. His wife thought he lost his mind, but he saw it differently. Finally, after years of being lost, he had finally found his mind. I think that part is one of the most relatable things you'll ever read. When you're going through this transformation where this is goodness. This is based in love. This is based in wellness. This is based in growth, progressiveness, the future, the ancestors. But others around you are content with the status quo. Maybe they're content with their, disillusionment, their dissatisfaction and disappointment. There's, all those ways that we become so cynical that we're just okay with the way things are, because that's just the way things are. And so it can cause rifts. It can cause people to have, to step away from us. And we have to be able to decide, am I trying to work towards this future, towards this world, for myself, for my kids, for my community, for the ancestors, for the future? Or am I going to also just be satisfied in this situation? And I mean, there are reasons towards all of them, but part of the Sacred Woman Way is absolutely choosing to do those things which benefit, which are rooted in love, which are rooted in healing, even though they might also be rooted in work, therefore. On the day we're supposed to go sailing, we awaken to dark skies. It's windy. Torrents of rain are starting to fall. Omatola whips out an umbrella. It's anchored at the dock. Sengo helps me, and Omatola climbs aboard and sits in the cabin, which can comfortably seat 8 passengers. He offers us wine and crackers. I learn more about him, and he learns more of me. We talk about our past, the present, our dreams of the future. Several days later, I tell Omatola an inspiration came to me one morning after meditation. Suddenly, everything made sense. The people she was introducing me to and why. The vision from the ancestors was a modest but practical plan for all of us to avoid a life of poverty. We've all been working way too hard, I said to her. Now is the time for us all to break free. First, we would share some of the profits of this book with her, since my trip to Guadalupe inspired me so much. Then I predicted some of my clients would probably want to come there for retreats, initiations. She could make a living offering private historical tours from an indigenous point of view. Shango could make money taking them on sailing tours, and one of her friends could earn income selling kalalu or other island delicacies. Omatola loved the plan and offered to travel to Trinidad and Tobago to sell my book. Everyone wins, including any website fans who visit and return home feeling uplifted and recharged. This would be Ujamaa, or creative cooperative economics in action. I feel so blessed to have such insight come to me in my meditation. You might recognize Ujamaa as one of the tenets of Kwanzaa. I did draw the symbol right there. And it's about working together, building that money together, building that wealth and stability together. He goes on to say, this is why I think that this is just such an important part. Okay. This part is, I think, just wonderful. It shows what a treasure James Week's mind really is when it comes to the spirituality and in talking to others in a level that brings it full circle. Especially with, just talking about the nourishing the soul topic. I think he did such a good job in this chapter. This is why it's so important to have a daily spiritual practice. Not only can a daily practice give you more peace of mind, it can give you more insights too. I firmly believe everyone should have a daily practice they can commit to, and that's why I suggest to all my clients. Because without ongoing spiritual maintenance, it's difficult to function at peak levels, and the weight of the world can rob us of the clarity we need to move forward. We shouldn't let a day slip by without nurturing our spirit in some way. Just as no two individuals are alike, I believe no two spiritual practices should be exactly alike. Your soul knows what you need. Trust it. Tailor your spiritual efforts to fit you. What works for others may not work for you, so experiment until you find what feels right for you. Then engage in it again and again until it becomes habit. He also notes that we should be approaching the spirit world with dignity and respect, giving thanks for what has been done and for all they're going to do. The spirit of gratitude and love keeps the blessings and the guidance flowing. Absolutely, having that understanding of love and gratitude helps facilitate the abundance, because you do realize all the way you're abundant now instead of only seeing the ways in which you are lacking. Also, that idea of trusting yourself, trusting your spirituality, trusting your divinations and all of those things that you get into, that when like I said, knowing the answer, are you going to do it? Are you going to do what you know the answer to be? So then he goes on to recommend, that's the word, a bunch of things like meditation, prayer, etc. that can help you with recharging your soul, reconnecting with your soul, nourishing your soul. And I think that's so important to remember those tools as we go forward, because that's really the foundation, the fundamentals of getting started with your life spiritual practices. Meditation. This practice keeps you grounded and balanced, helps you open to the spirit world. It helps me be a better listener. My daily practice helps me quiet my inner chatter so I can better serve others in need. I tend to begin each day with meditation, but if I cannot do it in the morning, I do make time in the afternoon or evening. Set a timer on the phone for at least 30 minutes and sit in silence until that time is up. There's no right or wrong way to meditate. While some recommend focusing on breathing, a word, a color, the flame of a candle, I focus on inspiration, the guidance that comes to me intuitively. So I think those are all really great ideas. You could have a bowl of water, be staring into the water. You could have a crystal ball. You could be staring into smoke, stare into the flames, stare into a lot of things. Or you could just sit and see what you channel, what comes to you. Maybe have your journal right there so you can be taking these notes and keep remembering and letting it flow and letting those thoughts come out, and then also just channeling those thoughts, and then be comfortable with yourself and forgiving of yourself if it takes time. 30 minutes is a lot to start. Perhaps start with 5 for a week or 2 or 3 a month, and then move on to 10, move on to 20. I remember there was one time a few years ago where I started to meditate. I turned on an alarm and everything. And then I want to say 6 minutes in, I suddenly got just my eyes open. I'm like, what am I doing? I have things to do. I got up and started cleaning my room. And when the alarm went off, however many minutes later, I was so startled and confused and how did I forget I was supposed to be meditating? But my body physically was not willing to stay still and just sit and download. I was just like, I need to be doing something. What am I doing? I should be doing something. And I found something to do immediately and became immersed in it within minutes, totally immersed. And I think so, it's just one of those things where you have to recognize you're going to have to do some retraining, recalibrating. He says being able to quiet the mind during meditation doesn't happen overnight, but it definitely becomes easier with consistent practice. Journaling. The key to journaling as a spiritual practice is to allow the words to flow from you without censoring them. Oh, that's a big one. I think a lot of us censor ourselves. Sometimes we don't want to ruin the journal. Sometimes we think our thoughts are stupid or frivolous or embarrassing. Sometimes we want to, you journal and you want to come off as one of the great writers of the time, and I think that all of those things can cause people to censor themselves, when in reality, journaling should be a way to express yourself, express your words, and not be paralyzed, even at the risk of not being the most profound person of all the profound things people said. It's not a competition. It's about helping yourself, working through it with yourself. If anger, depression, fear comes to the surface as you write, so be it. Be honest about what you feel, even if you don't understand why you feel that way. After several months of consistent journaling, you might notice themes of subtle messages in your journal entries. Don't overanalyze these messages. Just try to feel intuitively about what Spirit is trying to tell you. Then act on the guidance you receive with full confidence. Think about it deeply. There's a difference between what you want to do, what's the best thing to do, and when is the best time to do it. It takes wisdom and patient reflection to know the difference. And time, honey, it really does. Sometimes you think, I wish I'd done this since I was 20, but you wouldn't have gotten it back then. And so, recognizing and understanding and rejoicing in your own journey and your own personal divine timing, I think, is also a form of acceptance and love that we can all work on. Prayer. She says, he says, my maternal grandmother, Alma, was a firm believer in the power of prayer and passed her conviction on to me. But don't merely focus on your own problems while praying. Try to expand the circle of those you are praying for. That, I think, is such a wonderful idea, to focus on others in your life that you love, who you want to offer prayer for, or even people who are on your mind, you fell out with, you're having a hard time forgiving, or you're hoping will forgive you. Offering prayers for those people, blessings for those people as well. Expand how you're doing your prayers and talking with your ancestors. I often suggest praying for the highest well-being of people you've met in the past and those you'll meet in the future, even though you haven't met them yet. As your prayer circle expands, know that the ancestors and spirit guides of those you're praying for are listening and will often send a blessing or two your way just for thinking about their loved ones. So there's this beautiful reciprocal nature to all of it as you're sending out blessings, right? I always say, just for arguments or contentious situations, sweeping blessings towards others, putting blessings out towards others, sweetening jars, all of those things are ways that you can send blessings that can come back to you. Because, sometimes people hex people and then they don't realize, like, because you're in proximity, you could also get some of that lashback. So you got to be careful. So blessings, if there's a lashback of blessings, like, we're all blessed, it's good, but you have to be careful about what you're choosing to do, why and when. As you pray, have the conviction that your prayers have already been heard, and thank your ancestors in advance for their love and guidance and blessings coming your way. Next suggestion is be quiet. This is something we're going to cover here in the Sacred Woman book, but I think he has a good summary here. We talk so much that we have not learned to listen to spirit, says Vaitsa Trini Perry, a priest of Ogun in Houston. My godchildren ask me, how do you connect to spirit? I say, just be quiet. Our ancestors didn't have iPads and Netflix, Hulu, iPhones, and WhatsApp. They went out, killed a deer, a rabbit, whatever, cooked it, ate it, and sat at the entrance of their huts, looked at the stars, and communicated with spirit. We've got too many distractions. Sometimes I tell my godchildren that they need to go on a silence fast. I think the other part of this, not just the part about listening more, seeing what you can learn more from others than what you can just say to others. The part where it's just that simplicity of sitting outside in nature with a full belly, content and ready, focused, prepared to connect with spirit. It's so simple. You didn't need to buy something. You didn't need to travel somewhere. You didn't need to pay someone or see something. It's that pure connection between you and nature, you and the ancestors, that kind of trifecta that occurs of communication, understanding, and growth. And I just thought that was so impactful, just that very simple act of eating dinner and sitting down and looking up at the stars. Next, he mentions altar building. Altars are commonplace in African spiritual traditions and serve as a meeting place for exchanging focused spiritual energy between you and the ancestors. Your altar is about you and your connection to your departed loved ones, and it doesn't need the approval of others. Photographs of those who have passed can be placed. Other objects that have sacred meaning to you or your ancestors should also be placed. I have a small pipe and cigars on my altar because several of our ancestors love to smoke, maybe some tobacco, some marijuana, cannabis, there's so many different ways, and maybe make a smoke blend for them out of many herbs, depending if they were that type of person. Maybe there's a different type of treat, that they were into. But there's also traditional plants such as cotton and tobacco that our ancestors have grown here, and in the motherland there are cotton trees too. We've discussed that. So There's different plants that you can have live or a clipping of or a dried version of on your altar. Mentions ashes of his wife's father, candles because he likes them in his office, and his altars, and his living room. Offerings such as water, coffee, tea, flowers, fruit, dried nuts, palm oil, cola nuts, bitter cola nuts, rum. These are traditional offerings in African spiritual traditions. And he says, when in doubt, just offer what comes to your heart, a bit of the meal that you're cooking. I was watching something on YouTube. I forget what the recipe was for, but I do remember I loved that at the beginning of the recipe, right after the rice was made, this was an Asian, Asian people also practice ancestral veneration, and they put a bit of the rice because the rice has symbolism of life, and it goes back into their tradition. But essentially every time they cook rice, they just put a little bit into that bowl for the ancestors and put it on their altar. And I found that just wonderful because it's like a reminder, no matter what you're cooking, when you cook, maybe make a small portion, maybe have some small little serving bowls. Like it was like a little tiny, like, where they put eggs Benedict, or you know what type of egg I'm talking about, that special little cup it has. That's the type of cup that was holding the rice. And I thought it was so nice to just have those little serving cups and always kind of have a rotation of food being offered on the altar. Not necessarily rice for the rest of us, but something else. And just choosing what comes from the heart, what you have, what you cook, what you are able to do, or even money. I definitely have some bills in the face jug on my altar right now. The cultivation of your spirit creates a ripple effect throughout the universe. Do not underestimate the power of your gift. Countless souls will be impacted by what you have to offer. They will. Just communicating with others, being around others, having them see how you interact with the world, all of this creates a ripple effect where others are impacted, inspired, and changed just because they met, saw, spoke to, or felt your energy, once upon a time. Nature nurture is the next one he recommends. Many indigenous spiritual traditions revolve around the respect and love for nature. It's amazing, therefore, how little time we spend in nature. Nature is the medicine we all need. The energy of nature is uplifting. It brings calm and fosters insight. No wonder our ancestors often hung out in nature. My dad was a lover of nature. When he passed in 2008, I planted an avocado tree in my backyard in his honor. I think of Dad whenever I see that tree. Although I don't garden as much as I used to, I make it a point to sit under a tree every week, even if only for a few minutes. I think that's a really wonderful choice to do. Plants that, correspond with the ancestors. It just combines the nature aspect and the ancestral aspect in just such a really beautiful and honorable way. But also that aspect of, growing food on trees, growing food by yourself so that you can create nourishment and wellness for yourself and your family. That part is also so important to me. And it's also the just sitting out in nature, maybe doing your meditation, sitting in silence for 30 minutes out there as well, getting that conversation going with Mother Nature, getting the conversation going with your city, even if you don't have some aspect of being able to just go out into nature, hike or whatever that other people can, or that is accessible elsewhere. Connecting with your city, praying with your city, talking with your city, coming to understand your city's attitude and energy, and the streets it has, the plants it has, where are the brick walls in your city so you can get that brick powder when you need it, that type of thing. Get to know your spot and your nature around you intimately, what animals are still around you, that sort of thing. So yeah, make time to recognize your connection with nature, wiggle your toes in the grass, sit by the water, hike through the mountains, put your phone down, gaze up at the sky, at the stars at night. There's infinite ways to be in nature. Take advantage of the healing it has to offer. So next he offers artistic healing expression. This is second to last. Exploring art of any kind helps you forge a deeper connection to spirit. Having a passion for music, dance, painting, poetry, writing, photography, other art forms. You don't need to be a professional artist, writer, or musician to benefit from the healing that art brings. He says, I practice my guitar daily, but have no desire to play in a band. I make jokes about how I'm hosting a concert for the hearing impaired. The music soothes me and helps create the right atmosphere for my writing. We all have some degree of artistic talent. We're not placed on the earth merely to consume the art of others. I love that quote. We are not placed on the earth merely to consume the art of others. I think part of that is Western civilization, as it likes to call itself. It's very much like, okay, now these are the dancers. We've paid the dancers this much, X amount for the ticket. Now we sit quietly and watch the dancers and clap when they're finished and blah-de-da. And it's hard when you also have a culture like ours, which it's like if you can walk, you can dance. If you can talk, you can sing. So it's this, I think, this aspect of doing, even though you're not the expert, even though you're not the best, even though you're not going to sell a billion of these on Etsy, finding your way and finding how you identify, I think, is one of the more important, parts, because you're able to express yourself through this art, express yourself through something that you enjoy doing and putting your time into without like the stress of this being your job or some other way. This is just another way you connect with spirit. Finally, he says your relationship with nature must never be taken for granted. You must honor it, nurture it, and seek to understand it. Put that time into it. Spiritual bathing is the last one. If you're feeling off balance, a spiritual bath can help remove negative energy and restore balance. A simple bath with sea salt does wonders, and you can add fresh herbs, essential oils, honey, or anything else you'd like. So he goes ahead and gives this really awesome recipe for a spiritual bath he got from his Ifa elders in Nigeria, where you fill up 1 or 2 bottles of water from a nearby beach, lake, river, pond. Make sure you know the source of wherever the waterway is, it's a natural source. Fill out with rainwater, put a cup out when it rains outside, and you could have some too. Mix with a pinch of sand or soil and bring it home. Just a little earth. Buy any kind of coconut and then rub the outer shell all over your nude body from head all the way down to your toes while praying for the specific type of help that you need. Think of the coconut as a spiritual sponge that can remove negativity, illness, depression, or any unseen force that may be holding you back from progressing in life. The final step is to open the coconut, remove the water, and mix it with the water and sand you brought from the beach. Add this mixture to your spiritual bath water with a little bit of honey and ask the earth to support you. This bath can be done as often as you need. I would wear white after that one, and then I would also potentially have the water, or split the coconut into a bowl and have the water from the beach also be in a bowl, and then pour it over the head so it just like washed completely over you from the head all the way down to the toes and just washed away. But I really love that one. I think that's a really good one. And it reminds me actually of like an egg wash, cleansing wash that South American people do, which has kind of permeated up here in North America. But the coconut, I think, might be a little more traditional. And obviously, I think it would be quite a different experience just because the egg is so smooth and the coconut, right, as I can think of, has pretty rough skin in a way. But I do like the idea of it really absorbing everything like that, and being able to take it all in and then using like that beautiful like milky water from inside to cleanse. So his final thoughts say, you've set up an altar or shrine from your ancestors, yet you find yourself wondering if you're truly connected with spirit or merely going through the motions. Here are some tips that I found helpful for building a stronger connection with your ancestors. 1. Your loved ones in spirit are not magicians. Never approach them with a list of demands. Just be patient and trust that they will do their best to help you and your family. 2. Don't expect a lightning bolt from the sky. Messages from spirit are often so subtle you might easily miss them if you're not paying attention. Trust your intuition and try to listen not only with your ears, but with your entire body. Yes, and as you get better at listening, better at doing your personal divinations, better at all that, it will become more natural, and you won't find yourself second guessing and feeling like an imposter all the time. Finally, 3, take at least one step to advance your dreams each day. Do something. Do the prayer work. Do a journal. Read a little bit. Meditate. Do some kind of yoga, womb movement, spiritual movement. Watch a video. Get some kind of information. Complete one of your goals. Check something off your list. That sort of thing. It takes, don't waste spirit's time. It takes a lot of energy for your ancestors to attempt to communicate with you. And if you keep wasting your time, never taking steps that you've known all along will help propel your life forward, are you living in fear or faith? Are you leaving a legacy that others might wish to follow? I think, all of us kind of fall somewhere in the middle on that spectrum, but we do all have really lofty goals, and just recalling that, there is that personal work that we have to put into it. And it goes beyond just doing something small, but it does require all those small steps every day. So showing the ancestors that you are working towards it by finding some way to push towards your goal, improve yourself, create, get something in line, get something in order, prepare yourself in some way. Whatever it may be, show your ancestors and show spirit that you're ready, that you're trying, that you're working towards this too, that it's not just one-sided, here's my list of demands, now gimme. It's about, these are the things that I'm working towards for these various reasons, and this is the work that I'm actually putting towards it, and I'm putting work towards it even when I can't see anything else putting it towards it, and I have no solid evidence yet. I'm still putting that work towards it and facilitating my energy towards it. All right, so I hope you have really gotten why I wanted to read you that chapter today. Continue to build that foundation and that real honest connection with our ancestors as we move into some of the more hard spiritual work that has to do with our womb, our womanhood, our femininity, that sort of thing. Yes, we have the journal work and continuing to prepare ourselves. I'm so excited. I did get some candles so I could do a little bit of candle work. I redid my ancestor altar, and I was feeling kind of sick this last week. So basically all I was really able to do was I tried to start some cuttings, one off a rose bush and 2 off of 2 different types of plum tree that are near my house. So I'm trying to connect with nature. I'm trying to connect with my ancestors. My ancestor who I'm working with, Mother Trina, was pretty good with plants. She had like a decent amount of bamboo, which was growing really well with her. So I'm hoping some of her energy can help me with these plants that I just tried to start cutting and trying to start getting rooted down, I don't even know how to explain these plants. I do not have a green thumb, but that's really what I've been working on, is trying to work on myself, trying to work on concentrating and pulling myself together and making sure I am putting myself in these habits, which is really hard to do by myself. I cannot wait until we have the actual ancestor shrine, so I have others around with me and we can all work together for producing the Sacred Sister Circle. But as it is, it's just me, and I do have things that I have to improve upon, which tire me out and leave me just laid out, and it's really difficult. So at any rate, please stick with me, but I hope you enjoyed this latest installment of the Sacred Sister Circle. May your ancestors and spirit guides be with you at every crossroads, and I will see you next time.